I'm recording this on a Monday, because I was very tired. I was tired all Sunday. Partially because I had to spend a lot of mental energy learning to drive. That's right. Your guy's gonna get out on the road soon-ish, maybe. I don't know. Depends. But I've started the process of learning how to drive. I have never been behind the wheel before, and it's been one of those things that's like, yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, we'll teach you how to drive. How about this weekend? And then we all forget, and then that happens for like 4 years. So yeah, at 21, I'm finally pulling the trigger. I'm gonna become my very own Paul Walker. Oh wait. Oh wait. Oh wait. Maybe not like that, guys. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, so the impetus for this was because I was talking to my dad about, well, how are Kat and I going to get to Slashback, the tournament this weekend? And I came up with an action plan, but man, this would be a lot easier if I could drive, because driving is way faster and probably a little cheaper than, I don't know if it's as cheap if you actually add up all the gas, because it is a ways away. But having to take public transport for everything in America is not fun. I get by on the bus and everything, but yeah, having to rely on that, like, hey, for instance, right, it's happening over the weekend. The train just straight up, like, does not leave the station until, like, fucking, like, 8 a.m. or something like that on weekends, as opposed to 5 a.m. on weekdays. So it's like, okay, well, if my pools are at, like, let's say, even say, like, 10 a.m., I have to get there, like, 30 minutes early because we got to do badge pickup. It's just, so I'm like, my dad might have to drive us, or we take the bus really fucking early, and we have to take a connecting bus, and we're gonna spend 4 fucking hours on the bus before we even get to the tournament, and then I have to play fighting games all day. So it's like, I was like, this would be a lot easier if I could drive. Let's just fucking start the process. So on Sunday, my dad took me out to a local college in our car, and I got behind the wheel. It was interesting. It feels kind of like, it's weird. I feel like I'm not tall enough. I feel like I can't see everything that I want to. Not even on the road, just like in the on like the console of the car and everything. The console's the one in the middle. I mean, like, the whatever the stuff is in front of right behind the wheel. That stuff, all the dials, all the monitors and screens and stuff like that. I feel like I just can't see it unless I look over. Like, we got one of those we have one of those newfangled cars where it's just the push to start thing. You don't turn a key or anything. And it has like a little light for when, what was it? It has a little light for when you have like your foot on the brake, so you can actually start it. And I can't see the light. I have to like bend over. I have to like crane around so that I can actually see. You see it. I mean, it's fine. It's not like something that I have to confirm. As long as I know that I'm just pressing down the brake, I can do it. But it's just one of those things. Like, it feels a little uncomfortable. I'm still like, well, how far do I want the seat back? Everything is a little like, yeah, it doesn't fit quite right yet. I also there were a couple other things going against us. For one, it was raining. We've been having a lot of rain in California these last few weeks. And so I'm in a parking lot. I'm like and we're in hilly-ass California. So this parking lot is overlooking like a somewhat steep hill right behind the curb. And we're pointed right at it. This is where my dad decided to start us off. And I have to make the turn and avoid going over the curb and down a hill. So I have never touched a wheel before of a car. So this was Very comfortable, definitely very comfortable. I don't know why he decided to start us right there, but that's what we did. Baptized in flames, I guess. So I was like with most things, I was very bad at the start. I feel like with this, like a lot of things, a lot of skills that I pick up, I'm really really bad at the start. Like well below average where you would expect someone to begin. And then I kind of have to wrap my head around it. And once I do, I think that I improve pretty quickly. And that's not me saying that. I've been told that by like tons of people, like teachers and tutors and things like that, who have like talked to me about this stuff. That I start really fucking bad, and then they're like, "Oh, actually, you improved really fast." So I was like, "All right, my dad's gonna get mad at me at the start, and he's gonna lose his temper, and I'm just gonna have to hold that, and it'll get better." So it was interesting because there's just all these things. What I realized, what he said to me, which was very true, an observation he made, was that I've never really paid attention to the way that people drive. Whenever that, like the actual process of driving, what you're doing physically in the car behind the wheel. Because whenever I've been in a car, I just kind of tune out. All that stuff is just white noise to me. Like I'm not paying attention. It's just a thing that happens. I'm so, I guess, desensitized to it. I've just never paid close attention or made any kind of observations about it. I usually just start daydreaming when I'm in the car. So, first thing that we ran into was, actually, technically, the first thing was that I hit the brakes and the pedals too hard. That was something I had to learn. I was very surprised at, because my mind was operating with what made sense by default to me, which was input output. Like, I hit the brakes, the car stops. Isn't that good enough? No. You have to ease slowly onto the brake. You have to like ease into it. And the same with the gas, like very lightly hitting the gas. And I didn't realize the car just naturally kind of moves forward when it's in drive. All this was like, okay, I don't know what the behaviors of any of these things are, or how they work, or I just had to do a lot of experimenting and getting used to it, basically. So one of the first challenges we ran into was I had to make a turn, and we're just in an empty parking lot, and I had to make a turn. There's no one here, right? But it's like I start turning the wheel, and I have no idea how far to turn it, or how quickly I should turn it, or how to move my hands. So I got my hands all twisted up trying to turn the wheel, because I have to turn it farther, and I just never took my hands off the wheel while I was turning it. And my dad was like, "How do you not know how to do that?" I'm like, "Fuck, I don't pay attention to this shit. What are you talking about?" So he's like, "Okay, let me show you how you should move your hands." So we switch positions. And he shows me okay, here's how you do the turn, and I watch his hands, and then I'm like, oh, okay, but and he's like, because he tells me oh, you want to have your hands at the corner positions of the wheel, and I'm like, but Dad, you drive with your hand on the top of the wheel. And he had this moment where he's like, don't follow everything I do. That's a bit so that's a bad habit. So I'm like, what do I even trust now? What do I even trust now? So I had to figure out, oh, okay, you have to switch your hands. There's just all this coordination stuff that I could totally do. I just have to get used to it and do it a few times. One of the most one of the most surprising things to me was how much because how do I describe this? You have to do a lot of things in advance in a car, like a moment in advance. You gotta to put this into stupid fighting gamer terms. You gotta buffer the inputs in a car, in order to make it do what you want. So the braking is a good example of that, but also turning, I had to really try to. It took me a many tries to actually understand when I should begin turning, faster than I thought. Like, I didn't have a clear idea in my mind of where on the car, like, what is the axis on the car around which it turns, which is like the front wheel of like wherever, whatever direction you're turning, right wheel if you're making a right turn, I guess. But I didn't have a clear image in my mind of like where that is. It wasn't like, it's not natural to me yet. I got better at it. The hardest thing was definitely like doing the sharp turns and stuff like that, where I would be going too fast into them, or I wouldn't be turning soon enough, and then I would either go like too wide or I would cut it too close. I'm assuming that that's difficult in the first place, or more difficult in the first place, so I don't feel like bad about that. It honestly made me. We were out there for like 2 hours. I kind of just wanted to do more of it, but we had to go get groceries. So it was an interesting experience. I also have a bit of a hurdle with well, it's not even really a hurdle. It's just a reality. So I mentioned obviously that like, okay, yeah, there's like my dad keeps calling it the feel, the touch on the brakes and the pedals, right? I wear big ass hiking boots all the time, so I don't have like the most tactile sense for where my, like, how hard I'm pushing down necessarily. So I have to basically factor that in, that there's going to be, I have to get used to like, well, it's hard to like feel it exactly, like when I push the gas a certain amount, because I can't like physically feel the pedal going down for like a couple degrees. So I have to just get used to like, well, if I just push my foot down this far, it's this much gas, and I just have to learn that, as opposed to, I basically don't get feedback for a little bit on the pedal or on any of the pedals. So like just lots of things. I'm very actually interested in continuing to do it, because when I got a feel for it, it felt pretty good. I was making like, I don't know, is this a beginner thing? When I would make turns, for instance, I would think about turns. We're in a parking lot, and we're doing kind of like a serpentine motion through it, like we're just doing every single turn, working the way through the whole lot, and I would think about it in terms of like a just moving in straight lines. And what I kind of realized was that when you're making like one turn very quickly into another one, and you have like some room to work with, it's better to make like a slightly, like, go a little. I was trying to go like, okay, I'm gonna try to make the most 90-degree turn I can, so that I'm just facing straight ahead. When actually it's a little better to, like, I don't know, give yourself some space to make the next one, like move a little further, like hit the turn at an angle where you're like driving forward a little bit, as opposed to just right straight 90-degree angle, so that when you make the next turn, you have like some room to work with, basically. That was pretty interesting. I felt okay about it. Not confident enough to like. There's like some roads around the college and everything, like pretty quiet. We were going there on a Sunday, but I did not feel comfortable enough. Plus, obviously, it was raining. Not like pouring down raining, but just sort of that it's just gonna shower every couple minutes and stuff like that. Not like super slippery where I felt like it was dangerous or something like that, but yeah, also didn't feel super comfortable getting onto like a road where just because I'm focusing I'm still at the point where I'm focusing so intently on the very basic things that I'm doing physically that it's hard for me to pay attention to anything else. I kind of compare it actually to, funny enough, learning how to play the genre of fighting games. Like, I noticed this is very true. Like, when I first started, Skullgirls was like the first game I really tried to learn, and I remember someone saying that like, when you're first starting out in the genre, you pay a lot of attention to your character, to your own character. Like during the match, you'll be watching your own character. That's because when you press a button, you don't know exactly what it's going to do, or where it's going to put you or something like that. So you're watching your character to kind of like just confirm it and then like almost react to what you yourself have done. And then as you get comfortable with your character, excuse me, you push a button and you don't have to think about what it's doing. You already know. It's just like, it's, excuse me, it's just a known, yeah, you don't have, there's zero thought process involved in it. I know that I hit this button, it's this move. And then you end up looking at the opponent's character, because these games are basically deterministic. So no matter where I am, I know that when I make an input, if I dash, if I run, if I walk forward or backwards or jump, I basically always know, I'm familiar enough with these things that I always know where my character is going to be, and I'm just watching for what the opponent does. Stuff like that. I'm in that phase. I'm in the first phase, where I'm still, fuck, like if I got on the road, I would be focusing so intently on making sure that like I wasn't hitting the brakes too hard, I wasn't hitting the gas too hard, because that's something I could feel myself doing like consistently. I never really got a feel for like how lightly I should hit the gas or something like that. I feel like I just kept hitting the gas a little too hard, like a little too much, for what I wanted to do. My control over the car is not fine enough for me to then get up to the level where I'm now thinking about other people, in addition to, well, in addition to what I'm already thinking of. So, interesting experience. I could probably, I don't know, maybe in like a couple months, I could probably get my license. Depends on like how long it takes for me to really feel comfortable getting on the road, which I would not expect to be that soon. And then I actually have to look up the process of like permit to license, because I'm 21, so I might be able to just fast track to a license. I know that if you're like 16, what a lot of people do is when they're like 16 or 17, before they're like a legal adult, they'll just get their permit. And then you have to like, there's like a waiting period. You need so many hours driving, and it's actually harder. It's harder to get all your stuff when you're a minor. And from what I remember talking to people, it's comparably much easier, or a lot simpler of a process when you're an adult to get like your license and everything. At least in the U.S., California. So, I guess I'll update you guys with the story, the Taigen learns to drive arc. Taigen becomes fast and furious arc. Don't expect me to be driving a car through the 3 tallest buildings in Abu Dhabi anytime soon. Actually, I could probably do that. You just go really fast. Like, he's not really doing any driving stuff in that. He's just driving really fast. I can hit the gas hard.